You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
This is the time of year where everyone plans their summer vacays.
Yeah, I do spring vacays. That's what a bold twist on an old story.
Spring
huh?
vacay.
Yeah, I mean, not necessarily because I only like traveling in spring. But we're doing like a family trip. My father-in-law turned 70 last year, and so we're all going back to Spain, which is where he is from. We're going to see like...
They're going back to Spain. You're just going to Spain.
Oh, yeah. I'm not from Spain. Yeah. They're going back to Spain where he is from. Carlos was born in Madrid, but moved here when he was like 2.
Right.
So we're going to see the family and like all the aunts and cousins and stuff like that. But we're also... and so we're going to spend like 10 days in a van together as a family, which will be a fun...
One van?
Yeah.
It's like is it a like...
Hopefully it's going to be a big van.
Like a non-RV?
No, we're like staying in hotels, but we're gonna be in a van.
Okay, I thought you were like.
Oh no,
you were camping.
No, Lisa.
Oh,
I have such a nervous colon. I could never.
I could never camp. I hate it. I was just.
Yeah, no.
So. Alarmed.
No, thank you for wanting to protect me from that. Yeah, no, God, no.
Okay.
No, we'll stay in like hotels.
Pensions?
Yeah, pensiones. I love
pensiones.
I love them. But we're also Carlos and I are going to go to Portugal for a few days on our own.
Lisbon?
So I've never been before, but I was kind of obsessively reading about it because I like to be a little bit prepared.
Sure.
I know that there's going to be wine. So that's important to me.
Yes.
Because I have been sick for so long that I have really not had any wine in months.
But you know that favorite show of mine called Somebody Feed Phil?
Yeah.
Phil Rosenthal goes to Lisbon.
Oh, okay. I should check that out. Well, one of the things that I've researched and found out is that they have a lot of great trams and like public transportation.
Yes.
But they also apparently it's a very mountainous, hilly. Like, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So,
well, I saw pictures. It didn't look like that, but okay.
All I have heard is that it is a workout all the time.
Okay. I also heard they're really good with custards.
I have heard that as well.
And soaps.
Cool. I look forward to all of that.
Yeah.
But I do not look forward to just like getting my steps in. That's not really part of what my vacation, like vacation Andrea is not like,
no,
just like do a vertical climb. So I'm
Don't
really.
They have funiculars?
I hope they have funiculars. I love funiculars.
Yeah, who doesn't?
Funiculars are one of my favorite things in the whole world.
I don't even know whose idea funiculars were.
Me neither.
I don't really see them here though. Do we have?
They're almost never here.
I've seen lots of them in Europe.
Yeah, like, I think it's largely like a European thing. I love them.
Yeah.
So much.
I think they're very smart.
They're so smart. They're so fun.
But then I guess we have a gondola.
We have gondolas and stuff. But
yeah.
Like I don't mind like there've been a few gondolas that I've traveled in like Europe and stuff, or in Spain. But what I like about funiculars is that like it's always taking you up the side of a mountain.
Yes.
Or
isn't
like
there that really glamorous one in Hong Kong that you always see?
Yes, I've seen it.
You've seen that? Yeah, I've never been
to Hong Kong.
No, neither have I. But I watched another travel program with one of the funniest people on the planet, Richard Ayoade.
Oh yeah.
You know him?
Yeah.
He has that traveling show.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that show is the funniest thing on TV.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Yeah.
We went there, but should we? Anyway, these small little and the people he takes. Anyway, he took John Hamm.
Oh my God.
To Hong Kong, and they went on the funicular up to the top of this viewpoint, I guess, really.
Yeah.
Or
beautiful.
Maybe there's a some kind of temple up there. I think,
okay.
Too. Anyway, I don't know why I care about that.
No, it's beautiful.
It's a beautiful funicular.
Yeah, I'm really excited because I like being on the ocean, and obviously Portugal is very
yes,
right at the ocean, and so like a lot of. But I'm not that interested in beach vacations, and so they do have a lot of beaches, but it's not like we're not going at a time when it's going to be like beach weather and blah,
I think
blah,
spring
blah.
vacays are always a very good idea.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because you cut back on the number of tourists.
Yes.
The rates are less.
Yes.
So they say. I don't know. And you'll get more custard.
I will get so much more custard.
Yeah.
The other thing that I'm very excited about.
Paella.
I like paella. A lot of fresh seafood in Portugal, apparently. But no, the other thing I'm really excited about is so we have this like one of the cousins has like a baby who we haven't met yet, and he's a toddler now. But one of the like, and it's so cute and it's so precious because like I don't actually speak Spanish, and a lot of
nor Portuguese,
and a lot of the family in Spain isn't super fluent in English. But we have such a nice time with each other anyways. But I've become really kind of, relatively close to one of Carlos's cousins. And she does have like she's like more comfortable with English now. And I'm not more comfortable with Spanish, so I haven't held up my end of the bargain. But anyway, she has this like toddler. And for my birthday, she sent me a video via Facebook of this little baby singing to me happy birthday in both English and Spanish, and it's the cutest thing in the whole world. I can't even believe it. And I was just like, well, I am going to absolutely just go and spend like 3 days playing with this like tiny toddler.
Well, you'll need to look up my friend Patrice.
Oh yeah, she's in Madrid too, right?
Yes, my best pal, who is extremely excited to get to speak English with people.
Oh yes.
So
I
not
understand.
to say that you're not a good person to meet, of course.
No, but just honestly use me for my English.
But the fact that because she was just visiting here, and I could just see how it was so fun.
She was for conversation.
Yeah, just watching her head turn toward the English.
Yeah.
Just like
like if you want a lot of English in Spain, you really have to go to Barcelona.
So she's she can understand a lot, and I think she's done remarkably well, and I celebrate her ability to converse.
Yeah,
but it hasn't become conversational yet.
Fair.
And so you will have to look her up.
Yeah, I would love that. That sounds great.
Yes.
I'm really.
And you also have to bring me back the almonds too.
Of course. Well, but I love the almonds.
The almonds.
Oh my God, the almonds, the ones specifically made by the nuns who were in the fortress in Toledo.
Well, I didn't know that they make all that. Are they the ones that make those beautiful little boiled? Oh,
well,
yes.
These ones are candied.
Oh, I haven't had them yet.
Oh my God, there are some amazing candied almonds made by a specific cloister of nuns, and you can't look at them directly. They have a tiny window in a stone fortress in this. Anyway, it's great.
Yeah. Also, the fabulous series with Rob Brydon and Steve Coogan, The Trip.
Oh yes, that was fun.
There is an episode. The third installment is through Spain.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing that would be great to do if I was a single woman would be to fall in love with a stranger on a train.
Oh, segue.
Look at me segueing.
Well done.
Thank you.
Yes.
Europe. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
You're listening to Pop This.
And we are here to celebrate, and this is just going to be one of those shocking moments for everybody out there, so just hold on to your horses, your britches, I don't know.
Hold on to anything you got.
This is the 25th anniversary of Before Sunrise.
We've done a lot of films on this podcast and a lot of anniversaries, but when I saw that it was the 25th anniversary of Before Sunrise, even though I had never seen the film before, I know, shocking, I felt quite old.
It reminded me that time is moving along.
It sure is.
It probably shouldn't, because I've actually seen Ethan Hawke in a lot of movies, and he doesn't look like this anymore. So I should I should know.
Yeah, no, I get it. And I mean, I like when we watched Reality Bites a long time ago.
Yeah.
You have that sort of like, you're hit with the like Ethan Hawke stick of like, blech.
Yeah.
Just blech.
Yeah.
Yeah.
25 years.
25 years.
And I think it's just that for everyone out there, it's probably happening to you now too. You're like reading your favorite newspaper, blog, watching a show, and then all of a sudden it's a retrospective, which is what happened to us. We just all of a sudden saw it was in the New York Times. It was a couple of other like features.
Like there's a bunch of movie theaters that are actually screening it over the next few months.
Yeah, so it just sort of popped up, and yeah, it's the 25th anniversary of Before Sunrise.
It's so wild. I can't honestly believe I've never seen it.
I am kind of shocked about that.
Yeah, like I don't know. I don't know why I had never seen it. I don't know how I avoided it. Like I was 16 when it came out, so I really was the target audience.
100%.
For this kind of film, and somehow never saw it.
Yeah, so let's do a quick synopsis.
Yes.
On his way to Vienna, an American, Jesse, Ethan Hawke, meets Celine, Julie Delphi, a student returning to Paris. After long conversations forge a surprising connection between them, Jesse convinces Celine to get off the train with him in Vienna. Since his flight to the U.S. departs the next morning and he has no money for lodging, they wander the city together, taking in the experiences of Vienna and each other. As the night progresses, their bond makes separating in the morning a difficult choice.
So tragic, so fleeting. Have you had that thing where you meet someone you don't really know and you stay up all night talking?
Mm-hmm.
Me too.
Yeah.
It's good.
It is good. It's
very
very good.
Yeah.
It's very, very, very good.
I have to admit, when Carlos and I met, like obviously like we had met online, so we sort of like we'd conversed a tiny bit, but when we actually met up in person, I don't know if I told this story before, but I had a second date lined up for about 2 hours after I met him, from a different person I had met online, and I stood up that person, and I never went to that date because Carlos and I just stayed up till like, I don't know, 4 a.m. talking, and just talking, and it wasn't anything else, and I mean, not everyone knows Carlos. He's not exactly a talker, so probably I did more of the talking than he did, of course, but he just listened really well and asked enough questions that we could converse well, and we knew we were sort of like well matched intellectually, and sort of like I don't know, we found similar things funny and stuff like that, I think that this movie does a really wonderful job of sort of capturing aspects of that.
It does, and it really, in lots of ways, I guess you'd say it's almost as if these two people were condensing, like several weeks of dating into one evening.
Yeah, because they both know that there's this
there's an attraction.
And there's a time limit.
Yeah, there's a time limit. So they meet. It looks to be they meet on the train. I would say, I don't know if we actually said 4-ish.
Like in the afternoon.
Later afternoon.
And they talk for a couple of hours, it seems, and then they get off.
And then it's his turn to get off. She was going to go back to Paris, and then he gives that, why don't you just do something crazy?
Yeah.
Stay with me.
Yeah.
And we'll wander around.
Yeah. And I think I kind of wish I had watched it in 1995 so that I could have found Jesse charming. I spent from the very minute I was just like, this woman is too good for him, and he's a little bit the worst, and he's such a child. And it really isn't until the last maybe a half hour to 45 minutes that I sort of start to sort of find him okay.
Yeah, I don't know. See, now here, it's interesting because there was a challenge in the casting.
Yes.
This is a film by Richard Linklater. And we should probably say that what makes it interesting is that there's a feel that there's no script to this.
Yes.
That it's just a tumble of just two people talking.
Yeah, but it's actually highly scripted. And super precise.
Yeah, and super shot in certain locations. Yeah. So it looks like they're just kind of wandering about, but there is a lot going on in their interactions.
But so the fact that Michael Vartan was considered, it was down to him or Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
I can't believe that I have to be like, I'm glad they chose Ethan Hawke. Do you remember watching Michael Vartan in Never Been Kissed?
Yeah.
And what a tragedy that particular performance, and he was awful.
Yeah, no, it was bad. Yeah.
He was so bad in that movie.
And Sadie Frost, I don't really remember very well.
She's fine, but
I've always been in love with Julie Delphi.
I love her so much. I think she's great.
Everything she's done. Yeah. I mean, I wish there was more. Perhaps there's more in French. I just don't know.
There are other films.
I've seen all the ones she's made herself.
Oh, cool.
Which I loved. that she directed,
Yeah.
and there was one with Adam Greenberg in Paris. There's another one, Chris Rock, she made.
I'm obsessed with her now, and now I'm gonna go and watch everything she's ever made.
Yeah.
I think Julie Delpy is one of the coolest.
Yes.
Is it Delpy or Delphi?
I say Delphi, but
Okay.
but
It's fine. I think like I was watching her performance, and just she brings so much spontaneity and humor and depth and kindness to her role.
yes.
It's really just like a masterclass in acting.
Yeah, I have to say I have seen the whole trilogy. Have you?
No, I haven't. So I know. I'm so sorry, but can we not talk about 2 and 3?
Oh, come on.
Please.
What?
How do
we not talk about 2 and 3?
Well, because at the end of the outline, I was like, that's where I leave it to.
You know, when I do the important work for us.
I know. And I will watch them. But, like,
Yes.
I'm kind of hoping we could maybe talk about 2 and 3 in a future episode.
Well, we'll have to now.
Yeah, please.
I actually own Before Sunset.
Really?
On DVD.
Wow.
Yeah.
I do not have a DVD player anymore.
I know. I had to borrow one
Yeah.
recently, too.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's out there to watch. But, I was surprised when I was looking
Yeah, so I don't know actually what happens in the future.
Okay, all I want to say is that of the trilogy,
Uh-huh.
I was just going to say that I love the second one the best.
Okay, cool. I'm looking forward to them, and I really am looking forward to seeing both of them, because I want to see, like, I like this idea of like every 9 years these characters.
It is kind
we
of
spend time with them.
Now, okay, so another Richard Linklater movie he made that a lot of people
Boyhood?
talked about was Boyhood.
Yeah.
Where he, like, just like with this project, super ambitiously decided to follow a boy as he grows up. Now, Ethan Hawke, again, is his father.
Yep.
And Patricia Arquette's the mother, and
Yep.
who she won an Oscar for that. And, you know, obviously they're in that movie, too. Everyone says it's great. I can't watch it.
Oh, really?
I just can't, because I saw the trailer, and I'll probably cry even saying it now, because I have a son. And when she looks at him and he's, you know, got his facial hair, and she just goes, it's hard for me to say it. And she goes, I didn't think it would go by so fast.
Aw, yeah.
And I can't. And, you know, people are, oh, it's so good. It's not. And I can't. I don't want to. It does.
I understand. I like the movie a lot.
Yeah.
There are enough things, though, that I think would make you super frustrated. That maybe it could take you out of it a very tiny bit.
Yeah.
Because of the way that they position Patricia Arquette's character versus Ethan Hawke's character.
Sure. Yeah, I know.
So
I know he takes off, and he's not.
He's
they're
not
divorced, and
ideal.
Yeah, he's not ideal. And I know these things. It's just that watching that actual thing happen, and I just feel like, oh, but I can handle it in a relationship.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
I think, like, I mean, the thing that's so interesting to me in watching this movie finally, and then reading about the making of the film. So I don't want to get too far ahead. One of the first things, I had always thought that these movies were only written by Richard Linklater, Julie Delpy, and Ethan Hawke. I never knew that there was a fourth woman.
Yeah, that she wrote with him.
Yeah. I didn't know anything about
Kim Krizan. It looks like her name is Krizan.
I think it's
Krizan.
Yes, Kim Krizan.
Yeah.
So, like, she is in this oral history that I read, so it's not like she's completely and utterly erased. She's also one of the co-writers on Before Sunrise, the second one, but she's not involved in the third one. But, like, I don't know. I just feel like she kind of is a little bit erased from the whole franchise, and I don't know if that's a fair assessment on my part. It's just that, like,
I've never delved that far into that. I mean, I only really, it's fair, but I think Richard Linklater is also the director of it, so probably gave him a bit more of a, you know, role in the creation of this. And it was originally his idea, right? Because he met a woman.
He had this experience with a woman. Well, not like quite this experience.
And then she died or something, didn't she?
Well, she so he didn't know that, but it ended up that, like, he found out later that she had actually died, like, a year before the movie came out. But he wanted, I was reading this, like, oral history in the New York Times of it, and so he wanted, originally both the characters had like gender neutral names, and he decided that it was going to be like a heteronormative story, and so he wanted a woman's perspective as like his co-writing partner. And so he hired, he knew her. She had acted in a couple of his films, and she had written this paper about Anais Nin.
Uh-huh.
And
Wow.
I know, she's on the board of the,
is here.
yeah, I know.
Wow.
I mean,
so is she French?
no,
Oh.
she's from
Okay.
California.
Huh.
But I think there's aspects of the film that make a little bit more sense now, with like the sort of like cold attitude towards the homeless people and the the palm reader. That I think are maybe, yeah. Anyway, I was intrigued. I was like, oh, ding, ding, ding. This is an interesting choice to decide to, anyway.
Yeah.
But anyway, one of the things that sort of, I think what it kind of bothered me, the way that, and I think that this is just something that I need to work on understanding a little bit, perhaps, or I just need to be mad. It's fine. But it's the way Linklater and actually Ethan Hawke talk about Kim and Julie as contributors. So one of Linklater's quotes is that he, quote, loved the way her mind worked, a constant stream of confident and intelligent ideas.
Yeah.
Hey, did you know that that's actually pretty common of a lot of women? Like it's this sort of like the condescension that Ethan Hawke's character says that he experiences from the palm reader in the movie.
Yeah.
Is the way that these two men talk about women in their real lives.
Okay, so
it's interesting to me.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to posit this.
Yes, please.
Yes. Because I was having a lot of different feelings rewatching this.
Yes, of course. Oh, sorry. Yes, because you've rewatched it. And
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
How does it age to you?
Pardon?
How does it age to you?
Oh, I thought you said how did it age you? And I thought, well, that's a peculiar question.
How did the movie age you, Lisa? Tell me more.
Well, I think I've actually even seen it maybe even a couple of times.
Okay.
But I did see it when it first came out in a theater. And I feel like I was much more inclined to find it very romantic and more thoughtful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then this time I watched it and I felt like I didn't feel their chemistry as I thought I did the first time.
I agree with you.
I felt like, and I don't know if this was on purpose at all, because I haven't read this yet, but I felt like there was something about him that was overcompensating so hard as a guy would. Also, we know he's American. His character is sadder. He had just been dumped, we find out, right? Julie Delpy's character, Celine, is so cool. Is like the peak of, and she even makes a joke about people make fun of the French girl, right? Or something. But she is everything, right down to the story of her parents and her traveling. Yeah. So I felt like this time I watched it, I was a little bit more sympathetic to him in that weird way. Like, well, in the way that I felt like he knows he's, like you said, outclassed. Yeah. Like, oh my gosh.
I did not have a lot of sympathy for him because I found his constant need to crap on her excitement about things so typical.
But we also just found out he had only like broken up with someone a week before or 2 weeks before.
I know, but this isn't because he's been dumped. It's like the things that he's crapping on, like when he's so rude about the palm reader and like wants to condemn her and he's so rude about the poet.
Yeah, because this is a story about how awful Americans are.
Yeah, and so he does that well.
And I think that's what we're supposed to be seeing, is this contrast of this boorish American.
Yeah, maybe. Okay.
And this beautiful, delightful woman who understands, even if she doesn't want to believe this palm reader, she understands this is just part of the way it works in Europe.
Well, but I also think like I'm wondering, like that might be one like very fair reading and interpretation of like, but the way that Celine constantly sort of calls him on his condescension and or his own like she literally is like, you're like a baby when the attention wasn't being put on you.
Exactly. Yes.
And she calls him on this stuff like really directly and really quickly. And then they sort of go into like these larger conversations about gender roles and gender dynamics and things like that. So I feel like it's attempting circa 1995 to have these like like to sort of like positing that he's this sort of like realist and she's this sort of like romantic fantasist. But he also still is compelled by that like romantic fantasy because he's the one who asked her to get off the train. Like he's the one who, and she makes fun of him a little bit for like, he pretends that he hates love, but she's like, what are you, like kissing me at sunset in a Ferris wheel?
Yeah.
Like she's
But I think he's,
sort of,
because I think that as much also as being American, he's also very guarded. And she has had, talking about his backstory with his life is not great. His family situation.
Yeah.
There's no, like, he's a real, I hate to say it this way, but I'm just going to say it. He's just kind of a nothing person.
Yeah.
Really, right?
Yeah.
And he's up against this unbelievably amazing, tornadily wonderful woman.
Yeah.
Right? And he doesn't have a lot.
Yeah.
And he's also kind of bitter still.
Yeah. He's
also, he's run out of money. He can't really even do anything that he would ordinarily do.
Yeah.
So there's that real imbalance between them. And so the movie to me sort of is watching him worn down into a nicer person.
Well, but he's completely fundamentally rewarded over and over again for his behavior because she finds him charming and she wants to make out with him and she still likes him.
Yeah.
Like he's not really the only, like the points in which he is sort of challenged on his behavior are her direct call outs and like their sort of like
that's what I like though. I
love that part.
Yes.
I love that part. I just the sort of like bravado that he comes with, like originally.
But it falls down at the
it falls
end.
A little bit down. Yeah.
When they're laying in the park together.
I still think he's just trying to get laid. Like I'm really, I know that's cynical.
Yeah.
But like I watched that scene.
I didn't feel that.
I felt like he was still just really trying to get laid.
Oh.
I
well,
know.
but I didn't. But here's the thing.
She wants to get laid too.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to say. So I didn't
great.
feel that. I felt like they were both very equal in that way.
Oh, I think they're completely equal.
And I felt like he was also, there was something about him laying in that park that was like, whatever now. I don't care.
Yeah, I guess I just...
Like, that didn't feel like that was the main goal anymore. Like, if it was, they would have gone to a hotel. They could have.
Well, except for his lack of money.
Yeah, but she had money.
She has money, but I mean, can you imagine?
No, but I mean, if that was the goal there.
Yeah, but
was,
I mean...
like you said, to get laid. They were in the park, and then that's...
I just
like,
can't
they
imagine...
they even said that we don't know for sure if they got laid. It's just that you see her without the blouse. Yeah, and it looks like they probably did.
Yeah, but I just think, like, there's no way, like, his sort of, like, mild machismo... in its state would like let him ask for her to pay for a hotel.
Well, I mean, he didn't mind going to a bar and stealing a bottle of wine and promising to pay back money, like, and getting her to steal glasses. I mean, he wasn't...
They're in it for the scam at that point. Like, that's a bonding exercise.
Sure, but he knew he couldn't pay a lot of money for that poem. I mean, there was...
Yeah.
I just felt like it was a story of a guy that was really broken down by his... and knew it, that he was with someone better. And she was just kind of charmed by his just sweetness. And because we feel sorry for Americans.
I don't.
Well,
I know.
She can see that.
Yeah. Well, but I think like one of the things
what I was going to say though is
yeah.
I didn't see that the first time.
Yeah.
I did not. I wasn't thinking about that. It wasn't a way I was thinking. I just thought this was a movie about two people flirting, walking around Vienna. I wasn't really concentrating on that dynamic. And in this one, I felt like I really, really noticed the imbalance between them.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I was just really... my first time seeing it, I was just sort of thinking, 25 years ago, I 100% would have believed a man constantly telling me that I'm sort of wrong about... my belief in goodness. Like I would have argued with him constantly, but I wouldn't have seen it for as sort of like obvious and cheap and pathetic and gaslighting.
Yeah, but it's also, he's 24 years old.
Yeah.
Right? It's a stance that, well, having seen the other movies, maybe that's a bit...
Don't reveal anything.
I'm not... you know what I mean, though? So obviously I'm going to be a bit tainted knowing.
Yes, you know.
Because it's almost as if they're fully
goes.
formed people that I know now.
Yeah, no, they're your pals.
I've seen them before.
I've
seen them up and I've seen them down.
You've seen what they've had to go through.
But I also know 24-year-old men, and they change a lot.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, well, women do too.
Yeah.
But that sense of who he was in this movie was so ill-formed. There were a couple of ideas floating about. I mean, there wasn't a lot. Even, and I was joking about this because you read the same piece that I did in the New York Times about how he was obsessed with that
turtleneck.
turtleneck.
My God.
Luckily, he took it off later, but at the beginning,
I know.
She is flirting with a man wearing a maroon turtleneck on a train.
Yeah. Yeah. I just, I get it. We've all been there.
He didn't, and there's something about Ethan Hawke that's funny. It's like, I remember years ago when Rob Lowe was like peak-looking Rob Lowe. He was in a movie, and there was a line that the best thing that could happen to you would be just to get some sort of facial deformity so you could look equal. And I thought it was a very funny line because it was ridiculous trying to look at him.
Yeah.
And I just feel like Ethan Hawke is one of those people that has become a better actor as he's just got a bit more... Because it's such a young little face.
Yeah.
Even he was 24.
Yeah.
But he looks 14.
I mean...
and she's just a vision of, like, she looks like a Botticelli painting.
Yeah. I think that's literally a line from the movie, actually.
Yeah. She's so beautiful. And like you were saying, just so full of wonder and joy.
She's also really, really strong in her convictions.
Which
I I'm so interested in.
And he's of course drawn to that. Like this is and that's what's interesting. And she's drawn to something in him, which I agree with you is vaguer.
It is certainly.
Is that
vague.
A word, vaguer?
It's more vague.
More vague.
And,
thank you.
I also think again it's like part of that Linklater fantasy world where
that's true.
Women
will be drawn to this really dull man.
Yeah.
Yes.
That continues to happen in a lot of his films.
But they also sets up that conversation they have. I think probably the most interesting conversation they have, kind of the most honest, is that one at the pinball machine.
It's that I like that conversation a lot. I thought that was really good. And I think she's really funny in it.
But that past relationship.
Yeah.
So she was very much, I think that I met someone once, this woman who said that, she was European, let's just say, so it can't be revealed.
Sure.
And she was very attracted to North American men because they weren't big, brooding jerks like they are in Europe. That was her line. She said they're more like kind of working guys, and they're just kind of like, you take them for what they are. That's not a lot of, like when we watch Private Benjamin and she's with European dude and...
I don't even remember that.
At the end.
Oh, yes. Thank you.
Mr. Count playing soccer and affairs and all that.
Sure,
And anyway, that was her take. And I feel like that's what this movie was. I feel like in re-seeing it, I didn't notice as much of the contrast of her European sensibility and his dull American.
Well, and again, because like Linklater, like it's American male fantasy, right? Like this is like, I mean, one of the things that I think the exchange that I loved most in the movie is when they're in the fun, weird coffee shop really late at night.
With the phone?
The fake phone call.
Well, that actually was very touching. And
I thought that was super romantic and sweet, and especially because she's so good in this particular scene, and she really like lays bare like all of these feelings she has for him that are like really kind of really beautiful.
But by that time too, he started to become more vulnerable.
He has, but he still can't quite return that level of vulnerability.
Yes.
And she knows that. So what she does is take this opportunity to sort of make fun of him again, which is again, they're dynamic and it works really well. Her American accent as his friend, when she started doing
hello that, man.
Yeah. Oh my God, I laughed so hard.
Yeah.
And there's like the playfulness, and that's when I really felt the sort of chemistry come alive. Of like
fair,
and
maybe I was right to not feel the chemistry until then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because there was like an awkward kiss on the Ferris wheel that it wasn't.
I think listening to the song in the little record booth.
Yes.
I thought that was actually like really cute.
Very hesitant. And
and they were talking about that in that article about how they filmed it, and it wasn't scripted. Like she like Julie says, I was basically I was falling in love with Ethan by the time we got out of that booth. Thank God we got out of that booth. Like they did that thing where they hadn't heard the song before. So they were like hearing the song for the first time, and they were just like stealing these glances at each other, and it wasn't scripted like that.
Right.
And so it's a nice moment.
It is. It's a. What's interesting about this movie is that generally in like any rom-com you would watch, there's like real life and then they're dating, and then they're real life and they're dating. This is just an hour and a half of just moments.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost too much. It's almost like just icing.
Yeah.
Right? Because you don't get any of the other stuff. There's no other characters in this.
No, but
nobody.
But I think there's something like I can understand why, particularly in 1995, it would have felt really revelatory.
Yeah. It is. It is. It almost, because we did do the Agnes Varda, Cleo.
Yeah.
It had a European feel.
For sure.
That just wandering around. And I have to say, I had forgotten how really, really poetic and beautiful it was after they got on the train, and then we just see all the places they were in the morning light.
Yeah. That was a really nice sequence.
It really was. Just that quiet now. Now that it's bright, they're not there. And you know what they are? They're just boring places. But when two people are falling in love, they're magical spots.
Yeah. No, it was really lovely. And there's something like as frustrated as I truly was with his character in the beginning, like for the first hour, my notes are all like, what is this man? I could not handle it. I just was like, why is this happening? 25 years is and I've been noticing this actually about like a few different things that I have revisited recently is just like in the way that like a lot of our politics have progressed. And so we, treat more people as humans now. Not all, but we treat more people as humans now. And there is a lot less sort of like, ideally a lot less sort of like fat phobic stuff on television or whatever. There's still this sort of like, especially even in 6 Feet Under, which I had done the rewatch of, I was really shocked by the way in which so many people, the characters of all genders, would angrily refer to women as bitches.
Yeah.
And that sort of seething hostility towards women.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I like really appreciated about this movie is that I do identify moments of hostility that I don't like so much, but it feels like a much more progressive film in a lot of ways to even want to have those discussions about gender in 1995.
Yes.
Like at least in especially like for just two people who are supposed to like be falling in love and it's supposed to be like a romance.
Yeah.
Those are things that you fully expect like young people in their early 20s would want to have these kind of like big conversations. Yeah,
and it's also, let's be honest, it just is different because there's no phones. I mean, as much as I don't hate phones,
I know,
or Instagram or Twitter or Facebook, it would have 100%, they would have just shared their...
When they take a picture of each other at the end and it's just them looking at each other.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
Yeah, it is. But you know what I mean? It would have been a totally different story unless they had announced, which they could have, because they do say it's not entirely, I don't want to like exaggerate that point, because they do go, we could share names and addresses and phone numbers.
Yeah.
And they just decide not to.
Yeah, they know each other's names, that's all, but they don't know each other's like addresses and phone numbers.
Which they could have easily.
Yeah, they could have easily. I'm really intrigued. Like, I know that you have seen them, so I know that I don't want to be spoiled. But like, I left the movie, putting aside the fact that I knew that there were 2 more films.
Yes.
I was trying to imagine what it would have been like to see this like back in like 95.
Mm-hmm.
And sort of similar to Dirty Dancing, where you know that Baby and Johnny are not together past the end of summer.
Yeah.
I really, like, my ending in my head for the movie was like, this is the last time that they're ever going to see each other, but what a beautiful time they had, you know? And that's okay. But I know that that's maybe not like the most romantic ending.
Well, let me just say.
Yeah.
it's not exactly what you think.
I can only imagine. Yeah,
It's not as simple.
Yeah, I
So-
believe you. I expect that.
Yes. So I don't want you to feel like that it's boring.
No, I don't think. I don't
Yeah.
think it would be. And I think because
And the reason the other movies get so much better is because people generally
yes, grow up
and get
evolve
better and it's wild to have these as documents, because I think it's fair to say that's who they were at that age. That's
Yeah.
who people are often at that age.
Well, and they were, they were both very honest about the input that they both had in the scripts and
Yeah.
the things that they were personally going through, and
yeah.
that idea that Jesse does feel inferior to Celine is very much in keeping with Ethan Hawke described how inferior he felt to Julie.
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense.
And it does make sense.
Yeah.
And but it also doesn't mean that she couldn't be attracted to someone who
Of course not. My God.
who is trying, and you can see their effort, but you can also just see that, I'm sorry, you had to grow up in whatever sad little town in America, because it's nowhere near as awesome as Paris, and we all know that.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
there's no way. Maybe he's from New York, but he never really, does he ever say? I don't recall.
I don't think he ever really says where he's
I mean,
from.
I know Richard Linklater's from Texas.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think there's definitely they sort of they
it's
obviously-
Blandtown, USA or
well,
something, right?
and obviously we get into a discussion of how privilege impacts our outlook on life.
Yes, yes.
And so I think that they dance around that a little bit, which is
Yeah.
nice, because it's good to have those conversations, but it's also good to sort of, I guess the main thing that I was sort of irritated about in the first 45 minutes is the conversation style that I was noticing was happening. And so obviously this is scripted, this is an intention, but it felt like every time, I think it takes quite a while for him to really ask her a meaningful question.
Yeah.
And then whenever she sort of she responds to his he might say something and she responds, and it's a continuation of a theme that he has already set out.
Mm-hmm.
He does not honor the continuation of that theme. He switches to a whole new story
Well,
and
yeah.
talks at her a lot.
Well, okay, but
I find irritating.
I found that one exchange, and it actually made a lurch in me. Is he's on the back of that bus, and he says to her, "You remember the first time you were sexually attracted?"
Mm-hmm.
And she says that, and then she says, "Have you ever been in love?" And isn't it weird that asking someone about sex is less invasive than love?
Well, and
It's amazing. It just is so fascinating. And I love that scene. I loved how he was just I don't want to do that. Because you could see he's a person that was hurt.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I could offer a more charitable viewing of that particular scene. What I was taking from that scene when I first watched it, which I've only watched it once, was of course he wants her to talk about sex because he really wants to make out with her. And of course she asks him about love because women are conditioned to want love.
Oh, I did not.
And I was
Oh.
so mad at the sort of gender dynamics going on in that particular scene.
Oh, maybe I'm not thoughtful enough.
No, that's not true. We can both have our own experiences of it.
Sure, I just really saw it as him being playful, and then her taking it up a notch on him quickly.
Yes.
Like I said, this is condensed dating, right?
Honestly,
this is
it could be both things.
That the idea of those questions that can help you get to that next level of your dating. So for him, sex is funny. You're right, that way. It's a boy. Sex, and when was the last time you wanted to have sex? And then she hits him with love, and he's just whoa.
I know.
I didn't know we were here now, and I don't want to be reliving this feeling that you're making. That's what I saw.
Yeah. No, I'm less charitable.
Yes, you are.
Cynical and bitter. Which is weird because I'm actually super romantic about a lot of things.
And that's what was, as you said, though, that was the interesting thing about him trying to throw himself off as that. And yet he was the guy that had gone through a pretty recent, pretty nasty sounding breakup.
Yeah. I mean, you fly to Spain for a woman and she dumps you right away. That's
in the most uncomfortable way possible, not even confronting, just I don't spend,
You're out of money so much, you're broken hearted. It
sounded, and then he still took a chance.
I know. And
And that makes all the difference, isn't it? And I love a story like that. I love that there was a moment where, I mean, obviously we're sitting in the theater, so we know what happens. But I love the idea that there is a moment where it might not have been. He might not have decided, I'm just going to see if she wants to come.
Yeah.
And then there was a moment where she could go, it's dumb.
Well, and the fact that she was like, she says, I was a few seconds from getting off the train and following you anyways. Like, I like that they always...
See, she can be so honest because she doesn't have to have her guard up all the gosh darn time.
Well, I mean...
Where he does. He's got such a suit of heavy armor on him.
I think it's, because she's had, like, more distance from her breakup and, like...
And also, she's just who she is, right?
Well, also her therapist thought she was, like, maybe plotting to murder him, her ex.
Well,
so,
there's also an opportunity that she was a crazy stalker.
You know what'll get you over your ex? Your therapist thinking they have to report you to the police.
Yeah,
you'd be like, okay, I guess I gotta back down.
I do kind of like the way she breezily, threw that off. That there wasn't a point where he would be, can we?
Honestly, great. This is the thing. Julie is very funny.
She is.
Like, I feel like she, as a filmmaker, maybe doesn't get all the credit for that. But maybe
you have to see her other movies.
Maybe I'm wrong. I got
2 Days in Paris, I think it's called, is with Adam Greenberg. Very similar to what she plays here, is that she has an American boyfriend and he comes to stay with her.
Yeah.
And then we see her and her family and him trying to fit in.
Yeah.
And then same thing in, I think it's 2 Days in New York, and she's married or in a relationship with Chris Rock.
Yeah.
And they're both fantastic movies.
Yeah, I'm really excited about them. I can't wait.
Yeah.
Her and Adam Greenberg were apparently together for a while.
I heard that. Yeah. That is really funny. Like, my stomach hurt laughing.
Oh, that's good. That's
and it's, again, a lot of that culture shock.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to figure out
how to
get into this French family where everything's like really that kind of emotional and you're American,
Yeah. I mean, so for all the frustrations I do definitely have with the character of Jesse, this movie for sure for me pops.
Yeah, me too. I went through a lot of different feelings in it, but at the end of the day, I think that what I would love it. Just I think they always make movies like that too, but it's just that I think there's even one with Katharine Hepburn where she's in Europe alone and she's just sitting at a coffee shop and a man talks to her and everything changes. I think that's got to be one of the greatest things in the whole world, that your life can change in just a minute if you have a conversation with someone.
Yeah, I love that idea too. Like, and I do have that, like, I have that feeling about like platonic relationships and like familial, like it's just.
Or you went and got a dog and you were like, I'm lonely and I got a dog or I got a cat. Just that moment where you allowed to open yourself up to, you're right, I could get hurt. This could end poorly. Yeah. But I'm going to do it anyway.
Yeah. No, that's lovely. You're right. I like, anyway.
I'm not disagreeing with all your
No.
issues,
don't worry. I will still hold my issues tightly to my chest.
Yes.
And still reconcile myself with the fact that I really like a lot of stuff of this movie. And and we will do, just to let everyone know, we will do the other ones too. We don't have to 100%. Wait. We'll just to go off from here. We'll just do them, yeah. I also now want to watch all of Julie's own movies, like you said. So, which is great.
Yeah, so we might just do a Julie Delphi Film Fest.
Just periodically one film a month for like however long until Andrea Gin is like she hasn't quite agreed yet, but she's looking at us amusedly.
Yeah, one eyebrow up.
One eyebrow all the time.
Yeah.
We also love to end our episodes on something we recommend. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, so this year, actually in February, it was the 50th anniversary of the debut of Black Sabbath.
Oh.
I don't know what you're saying. That Black Sabbath self-titled album was actually their debut? Yes, it was. And so...
50 years.
50 years.
Yeah.
50 years. Those four ne'er-do-wells getting together in Birmingham, England to create... a genre of music that, people had flirted around a bit, it is blues rock, right? I mean, but no one had made it so scary and terrifying as Black Sabbath. And, well, changed my life. That was like the first band that I really was super excited about when I was 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I've moved on to other bands.
Sure.
But it's hard for me. I didn't get the debut. I had Paranoid. I digress. This is a magical year, 50 years of Black Sabbath.
Cool. Well, that's exciting. So go revisit their debut.
If I mean, and then even if you don't like metal, just sit back and just listen to that first track and just let it kind of wash over you and think about how unusual a sound that must have been in 1970. Yeah.
I was like, wait, let's do the math.
Yeah, exactly. 1970.
Is that the math? Okay, that's fair. That's
Yeah.
good.
That's fair?
That's fair.
That's math.
It's math.
Yeah.
I accept it. It's fine. So another show that I binge watched while I was recovering is called Good Girls, and it's on Netflix.
Oh,
but
okay.
it airs on like regular TV first, and then it moves to Netflix, I believe. And it has Christina Hendricks.
Oh yeah, okay, I've heard of this.
Retta, and oh my God, I'm gonna only call her by her Instagram name, which is Mr. Garf, but that is not her real name. She was on Arrested Development, and she was on Parenthood. May
Maybe?
No, Mae Whitman.
Oh, Mae Whitman.
Whitman. Yeah.
Oh.
And so it's this show
Great.
that basically like starts off with, there's 2 seasons so far, and they are making a third, and I don't know exactly when it comes out. But these 3 women are facing a lot of financial hardships and a lot of complicated things that are going on, a lot of problems. So they decide to like basically like get into it starts with a robbery, and then it snowballs from there.
So you recommend it?
I really have enjoyed it, actually.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Yeah, like I actually really like
Yeah.
it. There are a lot of very powerful performances. All 3 leads are fantastic. If you only know Retta from Parks and Rec, like this is such a different performance.
And Christina Hendricks from Mad Men.
Christina Hendricks from Mad Men, again, a very different performance.
Yeah.
And Mae Whitman is sensational.
Yeah.
And so, there are like some things that aren't perfect about it.
Amber. That's who she is in Parenthood.
There you
Sorry.
go. There are some things that aren't perfect about it, and there's lots of conversations I think that could be had about it. But it's also just a show that really wants to talk about money and capitalism and greed and class and just sort of trying to survive.
Wow. Okay.
So I really like it.
Excellent.
So check it out. It's on Netflix.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, everybody, for listening. I hope you join us again for future installments of what
Julie
is now
Delpy's career.
Julie Delpy Career Retrospective. That's what we're going to subtitle the podcast. It's going to be pretty great. You could hang out with us on social medias. You could email us at popthiscollective@gmail.com. You could also rate and review us. 5 stars.
5 stars. And our 5-star general here is Andrea Gin, and we recorded the Vancouver Public Library. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.